Welcome to this session. Today we are going to discuss about the internet, history of internet service provider, protocols and standard. That is today that introduction to data communication part 4 we are going to discuss today. Before going to discussion, we'll see the recapitulation of our last session. In the last session we have discussed about LAN, WAN, MAN. I hope you all have understood and have gone through the slides which I have sent to you all. Okay, the LAN is a local area network to connect different computers in a small building on a small area up to 1 kilometer or 10 some meters. This LAN is being used. When we are coming for the wide area network, this wide area network is used to connect the systems all around the globe, from continent to continent or from one country to the other country, the complete entire worldwide. This internet connection is done by this worldwide network. And the last one is MAN, that is Metropolitan Area Network. This network is used to connect different cities, small city, not cities, sorry. It is useful to connect different organizations in a city. Means from different places we can connect this, we can use this metropolitan area network within a city. Now we'll go to the next session, internet. What is you understand by the internet? Internet is a structured organized system we can call. Why we are calling it as a structured organized system? Structured means it is having some structure, means how these are connected. The structure means we can understand these categories and the topologies, all those come under this internet networking only. To see this in detail, we'll go here. The internet, we can say the internet is a communication system. Why we are calling it as a communication system? Because we are connecting two or more computers through a network or a communication link that has brought a wealth of information to our fingertips and organized it for our use. See, now we are sitting at home, I am delivering the lecture, and you are sitting at your home or at a comfortable place and you are easily seeing my lecture. You can follow my lecture whenever you want. You can open it and you can see this. All these luxury and flexible things are happening because of the internet. Today internet has been used very vastly. Okay, in this then we are going to discuss history of internet and internet today. History of internet. To study this history of internet is very important, because we should know from where this internet has come and when it was started and how it came to use and how the idea was started. Okay, good. The history of internet. Here the network we are going to consider. What is a network? A network is a group of connected devices for communicating with each other. Yes or no? A network is a group of devices connected for communicating with each other. Yes or no? This history of internet. When a network is a group of connected communication devices such as computers and printers. Here there's all these points I have given in the slide, because it will be easy for your preparation purpose. That's why I have given this slides, complete information I have given, but I am not going to explain each and every line to you. I will tell you the important points which are required, and later on you just go through these slides. Okay, in the early 1960s, the mainframe computer in research organizations were stand-alone device. a computer from different manufacturers. Here, what is happened? What is the actual problem was here we are the computers from different organizations were unable to communicate with each other. Like if we are having a city, in that city we are having different, in our college we are having different blocks. If in a block A want to communicate with block B, as if we take an example of our college, block A and block B we are having. In block A, if we want to communicate, if we want to have a link between A and B, it was not possible in 1960s. So this Advanced Research Project Agency in the Department of Defense came forward. They came forward to solve this problem. Okay, to solve this problem, these people came forward for reducing thereby reducing cost and elimination duplication of efforts. Here the important point is computers from different manufacturers were unable to communicate with each another. So the Advanced Research ARPA, remember this word ARPA, in the Department of Defense. This is one department. This project agency came forward to bring a solution for this. Okay, the next. In 1967, the ARPANET, it's an idea for this ARPA people has presented an idea for ARPANET. Their idea was like here, see. In 1969, ARPANET was reality. 4 notes they have taken. 4 notes. I will just tell you. See, 4 nodes I am going to take. Node is nothing but a computer, we can understand. 4 nodes to make an internet connectivity, these connections, to make a connections between these 4 nodes. One node they have considered as a University of California at Los Angeles, and the other one here, one node is from California, that is from Los Angeles, and another University of California from Santa Barbara. Next, Stanford Research University Institute. The other one is Stanford Research Institute, and another one is a University of Utah. These 4 were connected with each other with an IMPS. This is an interface message processor. Where this is nothing but an interface message processor to form a small networks. Means if I just connect these all to some, I can call it as a network, no? Yes or no? Yeah, with a small 4 nodes to make a network. Here the software used is network control protocol. The network control protocol provides communication between the hosts. Means if this want to communicate this one, this Los Angeles people want to communicate with Santa Barbara, then for them what is required, network control protocol is providing this communication. Okay, which one is providing the communication? Yeah, this one, network control protocol is providing the communication between the 2 hosts. Next, the last, here this ARPA this ARPANET. With this only they published a paper outline transmission control protocol. This was a paper which was being published to achieve end-to-end device of packets. Authorities later split this TCP. This TCP was split into 2 protocols. See, TCP. This was split. We are going to split this one into TCP TCP and IP. IP angle. Internet working protocol. This is internet working protocols. This will take care of the datagram routing. Routing means networking part is taken care by this internet working protocols, and this transmission control protocol, the responsibility of this is using segmentation, reassembling and error detection. All these works are done with this TCP IP protocol. Altogether we call it as TCP IP protocol. Okay, now the internet in today's internet, the internet today is made up of many wide and local area networks joined by connecting device and switching station. As we all know, we are connecting our internet with the help of LANs and MANs. To connect any system, what we are doing? First, we take two LAN connections. L I am indicating just. These LAN connections, with the help of this wide area network, we are going to connect with some wide area network. Wide and local area networks are joined by a connecting device with switching stations. I told you these two are connected with a, as I told you, switching station. This is a symbol of switching station only. Or like this, switching station we are going to connect. Today, most end users who want internet connection use the service of internet service providers. With the service providers only, we are able to access the internet very successfully and flexibly. This internet service providers also, we are having different types. They are local internet service providers are there. Local means, name itself is telling it is a local thing. Local means like LAN, it is very local in our cities, within the towns. Here regional means a little more than the local area network. If we consider small villages next the towns and next to the city, like that, if we consider that scenario, our local will be the villages, here the towns, and national will be the city, or some our villages, our cities and our country. This is a national service provider. These are the three international, and one more is their international service provider. With this international service, this internet service providers, we are using the internet very flexibly and very easily. We'll see the internet service provider. Here, this is structure of national internet service provider. This is a structure of national. Here, the national internet service provider, first we'll consider the local internet service provider. These are local service providers. These are connected to the regional. Locals are connected to the region. This each local in small villages are connected to a small town, and these towns, small towns, all together are connected to a city. We can consider it like that. This is a local service provider are connected to the regional service internet service provider. These also local service providers are connected to the regional internet service provider, and these internet service providers are connected within a national internet service provider with the help of some routers. With these are some routers. With the help of this, these are connected. See, regional service providers are IPS that are connected to one or more national service provider. They are at the third level of the hierarchy with a smaller data rate. Okay. Third level, why they are calling it as a third level? Yes, third level only. We have international. First will be international service provider. Second is national service provider, and third one is a regional service provider. And the last one is a local service provider. Local internet service providers direct service to the end users. The local internet service providers can be connected to the regional or directly to the national. Sometimes we can directly connect this to the national service providers also. This is international service provider. Here, if we see, we have national service providers, and these national service providers are connected to a switch. What is this one? These are connected to a switch. This is a switching station. This switching station is nothing but a network access points. These are connected to a network access points. Internet service providers are connected nations together. These, as I told you, all the nations, all the countries are connected to this network access point. These national internet service providers are the backbone networks to provide connectivity between end users. These backbone networks are connected by the complexity switching stations called network access points, NAPs. Okay, next. While coming for the protocols, protocols are nothing but the set of rules that governs the data communication. From the beginning, I am telling you is governing the data communication. These are set of rules. What do you understand by this protocol? Today we'll see in little bit detail. Here, if we consider this small figure, here we can see we have written this is a protocol and a protocol. This, what we understand by this, each and every system will have, each and every device will have some protocols. These are some rules. These are some rules which are useful for making our communication successful. With these rules and regulations only we are able to communicate with the other devices. Means whatever we are speaking, that is understood by the other computer, that is our receiver. So a protocol can define is what is communicated, how it is communicated, and when it is communicated. What is the function of this? What we have to communicate, how it is communicated, and when it is communicated. These are the three things which are ruling the protocol. Yes, what are the key elements present in this one is syntax. Syntax, we all know, for to understand, to write any program, when we write any program, we follow some syntax. With the help of the syntax only, if we give our correct syntax only, our program will work. That's syntax. That is, next is semantic and timing. These are the three key elements of the protocol. Okay. Here the syntax, the structure or format of the data. The structure or format of the data indicates how to read the bits field. If I consider, if I am seeing about the syntax, syntax refers to the structure or format of the data. Why we are telling it is structure or a format of a data? See, suppose this, I want to send some, this is the data which I am transmitting. In this, the first 8 bits, have the address of the sender. I'm not writing the full word, okay. Sender address. The address of the sender is present. This is for this format. This is for only the sender's address. The next also we have the 8 bits, and this is for receiver. This is for receiver address, to whom we are going to send. This is the address of our the system, which this is the address of the system who is sending the message, and this is the address of the system who is receiving the message. Okay, and the remaining is the data. Remaining is the data, actual data which we want to send to the receiver. This is the syntax. Okay. Okay. Now semantic interrupts the meaning of the bit. Here, how is a particular pattern to be interrupted? How a particular pattern to be interrupted is seen, and knows which field defines what action. Here, what action is to be taken? Here, what action is to be taken based on that interpreters. Means the data is interpreted and what action should be taken regarding that is taken by the semantics. The last one is timing. When data should be sent and what, and which data should be sent and when the data should be sent. Speed at which data should be sent or speed at which it should be received. When we are considering, when we see the speed at which data should be sent or a speed at which it is being received. For this, I will give a small explanation to understand you clearly. Now, I will consider a system, and this speed is 100 MB. Yes. Okay. Then here one more system. It is only 1 MB. Okay. And from this system, I'm trying to send some data. Means what is the speed of this 100 Mbps and what is the speed? It is 1 Mbps. If we see, it is 100 times more than our receiver. Yes or no? Yeah, this is our sender and this is our receiver. When this is trying to send the data very fast, can this receive in the same speed? No, this can't. It can't receive the data in the same speed. And what will happen as a result? The data will be lost. In the same fashion, if this system is trying to send some, if so, the receiver side, this is trying to send a data to the sender. What 1 Mbps speed, so it will receive it very comfortably. If this is having some 500 Mbps means, and this is having 100 Mbps means, what will happen? The data will be lost. So this is very important. Speed at which data rate should be sent or a speed at which it should be received is very important to understand this. Okay. Syntax, semantics and timings are the elements of protocol. These are the elements of protocol. The next is standards. So what do you understand by the standard? Data communication standards fall in two categories. We have two categories. See, standards are essential in creating and maintaining open and competitive market. These standards provide guidelines to the customers, manufacturers and vendors to ensure connectivity. Here it helps in guaranteeing national and international operability of telecom. Okay, here data communication stands for two categories that are classification of standards. We call it as de facto, de jure. This is by fact or by convention. This is de facto means by fact or by convention. Here de jure means by law or by regulations. Here we can understand this de jure is the standards made by law. We'll see means legal it will be. This is a regulations and by laws, and it is in a private. De facto is by fact or convention. We see the definition: standards that are not approved by organized body but have been adopted because of widespread in use. There will be some standards that are used by the customers. Normally, those are not a standards organized by the government, but the people are habited of using those types of standards. We are calling it as de facto standards. De jure standards are standards that have been legalized by an official organized bodies. These are created by some organization and they have a legalized with respective law they are designed. Okay, now the standards are developed through corporations of standard creation committees, formulas and regulatory agencies. These are four things: corporation of standards, creation of committee, formula and regulatory agents. First, we'll see standard creation committee, responsible to establish standards. What are these standard creation committee? What these people will do? These people will create some standards and those standards are followed by entire world. All the nations will follow these rules. Standards creation committee. These are some people, group of people responsible to create some standards. Here there are some standards which are followed by our national wide. Here the first one is ISO. ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. This is we can call it as International Standards Organization, but actually we call it as International Organization for Standardization. This is an ISO organization. Okay, for networking and all, we are going to follow these international standards and organization. Okay, the next one is here International Telecommunication Union Telecommunication Standard. These people they develop standard for telecommunications. Telecommunication, the rules and regulations followed by our telecommunication is by these are framed by ITUT, International Telecommunication Union Telecommunication Standards. Next is American National Standard Institute, ANSI. ANSI, this is responsible. It is completely private. This is completely private institute. This also frames some rules to follow. Okay, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. This is an Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineering means this is we call in short we call is an. This is formed by a professional engineering society throughout the world. This is an engineering society. These people, a group of people, are of engineers throughout the world. They develop some international standard for computers and communications. The last one is Electronic Industries Association. It develops to promote the electronic manufacturing devices. Okay, these are some national international wise standard committees. The next one is formulae. Formulas are special interest groups made from interested corporation to this evaluate, standardize, and technology. The best examples of these are the colleges. Okay, they frame some formulas and they follow those formulas. Asynchronous time mode, this is one. Transmission mode, asynchronous transmission mode formulas we follow. Okay, these are they pay these colleges and schools scholars, they form these formulas. Okay, the last one, uh, regulatory agent purpose is to protect public interest by regulating radio, TV, and wireless communication. Okay. The last federal, this is a Federal Communication Commission, and this is also, this is in US, and this also is used for communication. Okay, this is an organization which develops this wireless communication and radio related things. Okay, internet standards, there is nothing in this. Internet standards is a formalizing regulation, is being as an internet draft with no official status. In 6 months of time upon recommendation of the internet authorities is published as ready for the comments, ready for comments. Okay, this international standard, just have a reading for this one. Okay, now I will share a small video, just for wait a minute. Okay, this is a video which I am going to play, will give a clear idea of how the internet has
Thanks to this wonderful thing called the internet, you are watching this video right now. But how did the internet get to where it is today? There is so much internet history that we couldn't possibly get to everything in this short of a video, so we're definitely going to have to make a second one. Anyway, let's get started. The internet actually got its start over 50 years ago, and computers back then filled up entire rooms. Scientists and researchers used it for years to communicate during the Cold War. It was useful because if one computer went down, the others wouldn't follow. In 1962, a scientist named J.C.R. Linkletter proposed the idea of a network of computers that could talk to one another. In 1969, the first ever message was sent from one computer to another over the ARPANET, the government's computer network at the time. ARPANET stands for Advanced Research Projects Agency. One was located in a research lab in UCLA and the other at Stanford. All the message said was log in, and it didn't fail to crash the network. Stanford only received the first 2 letters of the message, but hey, you gotta start somewhere. By the end of the year, only 4 computers were connected to this network. In 1971, the University of Hawaii's Aloha Net was added, followed by various networks in London and Norway 2 years later. Also happening in 1971, Ray Tomlinson was developing the first system to send mail back and forth between users of ARPANET. This would eventually be called electronic mail, or email for short. The @ symbol was used to tell a person's name and the host name apart. With all of the networks floating around, there needed to be a way for all of the computers on them to communicate with other networks. This is where computer scientist named Vinton Cerf comes in. He invented a way to introduce computers across the globe to each other in a virtual space. This invention was called Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP, which was followed by Internet Protocol, or IP. In the 80s, scientists used Cerf's protocol to send data back and forth, but the 90s is where it really all began. In 1991, a computer programmer named Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. This wasn't just a data sharing space for scientists anymore. This was an entire network of information that was accessible to anyone with an internet connection. You're using a browser right now to watch this video. Some of the popular ones are Firefox, Google Chrome, and Safari, but in 1992, Urwise was created. Urwise was an internet browser and the first to have a graphical interface. A few browsers came before and after, but in 1993, Mosaic was created, and it would popularize surfing the web. Mosaic influenced many of the browsers to follow, including Netscape Navigator in 1994. This became the most popular web browser at the time, accounting for 90% of the web usage in 1995. In the early 90s, companies like AOL and CompuServe were starting to provide dial-up internet access. Dial-up is a method of connecting to the internet via a telephone line. Your telephone line was plugged into a modem, and the other end was plugged into the phone jack. There was a period in history where you couldn't use your telephone and the internet at the same time. Without the internet, we obviously wouldn't have things like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, but way more importantly, we wouldn't be able to access information in seconds. We wouldn't be able to communicate with people from around the world, share ideas, and educate those who might not get a chance elsewhere. Also, without the internet, I'd actually have to talk to someone when I order a pizza, which, by the way, was the first thing ever purchased on the internet. How would your life be different without the internet? Let us know in the comment section below. This episode of Life Noggin is brought to you by Audible. Go to audible.com/life.
Okay, and I hope you all understood what is internet, the history of internet and protocols and standards. Thank you.